Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly meltdowns coverage of Survivor, episode 11 of season 42. We're here. We have so much to talk about. Some of us are feeling a little better than others, both health wise and also. I honestly, I just have like more notes for Jeff Probst about this episode than any player's performance this episode is what I
Tyler,
would
I've
say.
been winking and nodding at you, and you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Right. It's Jeff. It's out of control at this point. We have so much to get into, but with us as always is Beth and Andrew. Beth, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I know I sound a little sick today. It's because today I got the official test. I am COVID positive. What is
Well,
up?
at least you get to post the Valerie Cherish gif where she's like, "Well, I got it."
Well, I got it. Yeah. No, I have known that I've had COVID for days. It's just it took forever for my test to come back positive. So it's a bummer because we had plans for tomorrow night that if I didn't have COVID, I was going to go to even with a cold, but definitely not going out in public. So at least I get to be on the mic with you tonight.
Yes. Well, I'll let you know how the show is tomorrow.
Please,
I'm still very
our
excited
friend
about
Sam
it.
Moore from RHAP saw it the other night. He said it's absolutely fantastic. So
Oh, really? Okay, cool, perfect.
yeah.
That makes me excited. And Andrew, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Getting to the end of the school year, which is exciting, and I have a busy, long summer. So counting down those, we were counting down days. I'm now counting down seconds, and that's how ready we are for school to end. I have to say for this episode, and I didn't tell anybody this beforehand, but I actually saw a spoiler before and knew who was being booted. I didn't know anything past that. Now, that's not the way I thought that person was getting booted. With knowing that the do or die was coming and all of that, I thought there was going to be a different route to that today. And I said it in our chat. I'll say it now. That's probably a top 3 episode for me of all time in the history of Survivor.
That is, I mean, it was a really fantastic episode. and what I loved the most about it is that I thought I knew what was going to happen and then I didn't. But then I also, when I went back and I looked at my tweets, I was like, I kind of did call the episode, but it, like to your point, Andrew, it was not at all how I thought it was going to go down. Like I technically called it. I retweeted something that Lindsay had tweeted out a few hours ago about the calorie intake and like, you know, she's a dietitian. So of course she's talking about it. And I was like, I don't like that you're saying this right before the episode. It tells me that a dumb decision is made. Maybe you guys vote out someone like Drea or Marianne over a Jonathan. And that's like kind of what happens, but it's not at all a dumb decision. It's like there's really great thought and logic and strategy and everything that happens. And then there's the do or die twist, and there's people who don't sit. I mean, there's just a lot to cover.
Yeah, so much to get into, and what I love about like the overarching theme of this whole episode is like it's the most like crazy paranoid we've seen everybody, but still like they had no idea if there was even going to be a vote tonight. So it's just a lot of like it really made for like an interesting live tribal tonight, but not from a like everybody stand up and talking and it's just like a shit show. It's like okay, well plan A didn't happen, so let's go to plan B, but let's also think about plan C that we made with Drea. There's just like so many layers, so many different ways that this could have turned out tonight. So lots to get into.
And the Drea exit is the best exit in the history of Survivor, hands down.
Everything
100%.
about it was amazing. From the moment that she and Mike started hugging, and he went, "Did you put 2 votes on me?" And she's just like, "Ah!" I mean, everything was so good. It's like exactly how I wish I would exit a game, to be honest with you.
It wouldn't be how I would exit.
Oh, I know it's not.
Well, I have issues with the amount of shenanigans that Jeff let happen like after Drea got voted out.
Really?
And I know
Why?
that might be unpopular, but like the fact that like Mike got to ask if she put that extra vote on him, like the fact that he got that clarity instead of like having paranoia going back to camp and stuff, I think is very like
I don't have any issue with it. People talk about stuff all the time.
I also didn't like how for the do or die twist decision that Lindsay had to make, we saw the jury all like like basically whispering to her like keep it. Like I just feel like the like as soon as the vote is read, right, that's when, like, as soon as Jeff announces that, like, Drea, you are voted out, to me that is the moment that you become a juror and you are not allowed to influence the game moving forward anymore. Like, you are supposed to be
Not until you're
I'm ready. I'm ready.
No. Tyler, you are so big brother minded. This is Survivor. It's a very different game.
He's not big brother
Yeah,
minded
yeah,
because an
yeah.
elephant never forgets. I'm fat, I'm big, I'm an elephant. Me and Tyler debated last summer about goodbye messages in Big Brother. I was against, he was for. What's the difference?
Okay, the difference is that when you're recording the goodbye message, you are still technically in the game, and that is like a layer of the game that you
No, but
should
it's
be able
shown
to
to you
use.
after you've been voted out.
Right, but it's recorded before, like, it is still an element of the game you're playing within that week. Like, the vote being read is when the round is over, in terms of, like, active gameplay happening, in my
The round's
opinion.
not over till that
No,
torch
no,
is
no.
snuffed.
You're not exactly. Here's the thing. You're also not out until technically that torch is snuffed. Most of that stuff went down before she even had the torch snuffed, right? So why is that any different from when people have spilled information as they go to get their torch or whatever in past seasons? This is no different. I think it's all fair game. We don't have recorded goodbye messages or anything. You have that moment to leave your last impressions before you officially become a jury member. The moment you walk away, you're a jury member at that moment.
So,
And there's
like,
no guarantee what she's saying is true. Just like you've made
Yeah.
that case with the goodbye messages.
It's true.
She could screw with people's games just as much as she could help it or say it. Now, in this instance, it's obvious they knew that she had the double vote, but I can't speak about this instance specific. I have to speak of saying things after you're voted out before you leave. And it's fair game. If goodbye messages are fair game, that's fair game.
Andrew, that is a good point that, like, in this, like, modern era of Survivor, right, like, everybody really does know, like, everybody's advantages and stuff like that. So I guess it's more just like confirmation than anything, rather than like a big reveal. But we've seen how these things, like, can kind of evolve into something bigger once, like, Pandora's box is really out. Like, it's almost like you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube, if you will. Like, what's stopping Drea from being like, okay, well, Lindsay now has an idol because I was voted out tonight, and I had the first part, and Marianne has another idol, and these are the advantages I have that are probably now out in play again to find.
That'd be great. I wish that people would do that. Here's two reasons why. Because you're going to go back to and talk, and you're a part of the jury anyway, so you're going to be talking to them anyway at Ponderosa. That's no different. 2, then you can go back and say, I lied about these things. 2, you just influence the game. How are people going to pick up and play afterwards? This is all about social strategy. How do you play with the cards that you were presented, whether it's through the game mechanics or whether it's through other people fucking you over? Fair game, in my opinion, regardless if it's true or not.
And I do think, do you take that one step further? We talk about live game, right? And you talked about that specifically. Once the vote is read, the game is live. In the jury phase, the game is live 365 days, 24 hours, constantly live. They could hear what the jury is whispering, which they do to gauge reactions as to what's to happen. So the jury can still have an impact from the jury bench during the middle of a tribal council. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that person's going. We hear those conversations. And you specifically said that about, like, keep it, keep it, keep it. That's not something new. Whispering within the jury bench and reactions from the jury bench has been around since season 1. So it's once the jury is invaded, then anybody that is invited to that tribal council is alive. And that's the difference between a Big Brother versus a Survivor, right? Big Brother sees them in a jury house. They're live. They're there. They
don't also get to see the questioning from Julie afterwards, the jury member. So they don't actually get to see people in their raw feelings right afterwards, right? They're only seeing, here's what happened in the vote, but they don't see the questioning right before the vote. They don't see any of those other things. They're seeing, here's just facts. Here's none of the strategy that you saw ahead of time. The jurors in Survivor have the benefit of being able to sit and see what every single person is saying, how they're reacting, what they're doing. It's implicitly and inherently a very different game because of that.
I guess, like, I understand you guys' points, right? And, like, I'm not like disagreeing with them at all. Like, I totally get it, and I get the difference between that and Big Brother. I just like there's a certain, like, sexiness of the finality of the tribe has spoken. And that's it. Like, you are
Sure.
done. You know what I
But
mean?
again,
And
none of
like
that stuff happened before that
I
happened.
know. I just I want that.
I know what you're saying, but
I
I
want
think
that
it's
proper axe, you know,
yeah.
like Marianne, you know, like I want that hatchet, right? So, but I get what you guys are saying.
And I get what you're
I just
saying too,
worry.
and we can absolutely disagree on this, but I just think like you can think it's sexy or that. I think it's sexy. I want to leave and spill the tea on every single person, and then whoever is able to like. I'm not going to be shocked if Omar goes next week. I'm going to put that out there. If Omar goes next week, it's because of Drea, and guess what? He couldn't outplay his own bullshit. Sorry about it. That's what you risk when you go against somebody. And here's the other thing. Everybody who voted with him pretty much knew that he did that to her. So when she gets up and says, by the way, Omar's the only person I told, if they're not already thinking, wow, Omar's getting all the information, that just confirms something that they're already knowing, right? That's not brand new information to them. But Drea leaving tonight was not good for Omar because of how it went down. Just putting it out there.
And I also think it fit with her edit in this episode because you see her make the alliance in the beginning and then open her mouth towards Jonathan. Like this whole episode centers around Drea not being able to keep her mouth shut. And then the one power you should never talk about. I mean, never mention this power she tells someone about. And so for her in the end to continue to running the mouth, but to see it from this different side of the fact that that's just me, that's Drea, and that's who I am. And it got me in trouble from the beginning. It got me to leave. And now I'm going to show you that that's just who I am. I thought it was perfect for her edit even.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, do I think like, so let's get into like the Jonathan and Drea of it all. Like there's a lot to unfold strategy wise with like Omar and Mike. So I don't want to spend like a crazy amount of time on this, but like, I do think that Jonathan was a little, aggressive towards Drea in that moment. Like I think it's valid for her to ask about the fishing supply stuff, asking him to help. But I also understand like Jonathan's perspective of like how like just how like physically like beat he must be from like the amount of calories that like he's not receiving, like that, like as much as like it's like as much as it feels like mansplaining, right? I do understand that like that is a huge deal for like power lifters and people that have like that much muscle and tone to their body. Like he's right, like he is burning like over 2,000 calories a day literally just existing. That's like if he's not like taking a single step. But like you still have to understand that like you're in the context of a game, and any little thing that could set you off, like you really have to keep your emotions in check. Of course, like I'm saying that with like a full belly, just eating a delicious seamless that was delivered to me about 30 minutes ago.
So here's the thing about that, right? Jonathan's not the only person that if they do nothing, you burn 2,000 calories a day. So does every other fucking human on Earth, by the way. That is literally biological.
It's probably more for him.
And that's the thing, right? Yeah, I'm sure it's a little bit more. But it's a biological fact that we burn about 2,000 to 2,500 calories on average humans. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be not active at all. Your body's constantly burning it. Yes, he has a little bit more to it. He's losing this muscle mass. He's losing this kind of stuff, right? His body is turning muscle into fat storage, essentially. And that's a tiring process. That's where his calories are going towards, right? Yeah. It's not that he's burning more calories. It's that his calories are going to a different kind of energy consumption than the rest of the body. So that's legitimate, right? So I do want to put that out there. But I also want to say, dear people who have muscles like that, if you know you're going to go on Survivor, there were ways to prepare for that clearly he was not doing. Period. There have been, like, you can't tell me that other people who have been incredibly fit, who have gone on the show and have obviously had the effects of going on it, haven't prepared in a way that like gets their body used to changing how they're
That is true. I remember like Sydney in particular like did a lot of like preparation.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Sydney was one of them. Joe was one of them. Like there's definitely ways that you go about people who are used to doing specific kinds of like body lifting and those kind of things that really have to change the way in which their body's used to, because they're probably used to also doing a mostly protein diet a lot of the time, like protein and carbs. and you're taking away protein pretty much altogether, and you're barely getting a little bit of carbs. And the carbs that you are going, simple sugars, they're gone. So it's not like they're giving you a lot of energy. It's like they're just sustaining so that you could do things. So I just wanted to put out there that like, it's like, yeah, that of course it's difficult. But it's also really fucking annoying when you're like the one person who keeps going after only the Black women and being the aggressor and saying, I have it harder than anybody else. It's like, bitch, let's just talk about the social dynamics of that fucking comment, especially when Lindsay was the one that was going, you know, you could help, you could do these things. Drea didn't even say that. Why is he going after Drea? And I think that there's an implicit bias there.
The edit of that scene also was very weird. Like it sounded like Lindsay, but they were showing like Drea's face like immediately after like that sentence from probably Lindsay said that. So I feel like the show was trying to paint it into something it probably wasn't. But the moral of the story with both of these kids here, and I say kids like they're younger than me, when in fact they're older than me. But like that's my point though, is like they're acting like kids. They both of them are forgetting in the moment that like anything and any behavior that you have, anything you say can get the ball rolling for people wanting to justify any reason to target you. And I think both Drea and Jonathan are two very strong targets that should be thinking about this more before going into these situations in front of other people. You know, like it would be another thing if like it was just the two of them on the beach and they just had like a little like tiff and they worked it out immediately, which I kind of like was hoping we would get another scene from the two of them being like, listen, I'm sorry, it's not that big of a deal, I get where you're coming from, type of thing. But it's just like not a good look for either of them. And I think that it's in both of their best interests to keep each other as a meat shield to kind of help their chances moving forward. So totally. I'm pretty poo-poo on both of them for doing this. Andrew, what do you think?
So 2 reactions. One, anybody that's married in a relationship, and this was said in the episode, knows that being hangry is a real thing. Hanger is a true emotion. Any psychologist, Tori, agrees with you from the jury bench that hanger is real. And I think that was described great. And I do think that had happened. I also agree with what Beth said about the snapping and all of those kinds of things. But I do also think this brings up a great point in twofold into a strategy standpoint of, does the provider ever get a break? Right.
Which I think that's a really great point to bring up too.
Yeah.
The fact that nobody handled that correctly, right? I don't agree with Lindsay, because it was Lindsay. It was definitely her voice and not Drea saying, well, you could help, or that's what I've been trying to get you to do. Like the way that was very passive aggressive, instead of saying, you know, I can't really listen. Could you like help me physically with the net? Like that might be a better way to go about it. I don't know.
And my problem with the edit is it comes off like they set it up like it was going to be an Omar doing nothing versus a Jonathan doing everything, because you just came from that Omar kind of always eating and sitting here and doing nothing. And that's almost how I thought they were going to go. And then you get this women versus men, almost race kind of interaction there. I think the better storyline is you just talk about Omar and you talk about how he sits and does nothing all day. And then you talk about Jonathan, who has been the provider, and now he is just sitting and doing nothing any day. I feel like that storyline was the better storyline, and I feel like they didn't get into it enough.
I think that it would have, well, it's wondering if they didn't get into it because that's not how they felt in the moment, because like we do see the after effects from like Drea and Lindsay being like, wow, he's getting like really ornery and like we need to like vote him out and that kind of thing. And like if there had been somebody, if he'd said like, guys, I provide all the time, I am starving, like I'm sorry that I can't do that. Like I'm physically beat down today. And if he had said something like that, that would have been fine. But he's also the type of person that we've seen who's like, doesn't want to admit weakness.
Right.
So therefore it's just like, that is a character flaw with him. Right. In the same way that it's absolutely a character flaw to not recognize when somebody else is going through something that you are, but also not giving them credit for the things that they have been doing the entire time up until this point. So maybe give them the grace of that day. Maybe give them the grace of understanding, like, oh, they must be like really tired and we're trying to do something and they can't always just teach us everything, you know?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
also I also want to point out that like I feel like Jonathan is very hyper aware of how he probably came off when he was arguing with Drea when it was that tribal where like race was really brought up and Drea and Marianne used their idols and him and Drea like kind of got into a little tiff and Jonathan from my perspective walked away feeling like he was painted as like a racist or like microaggressions and stuff like that. And I feel like he is in his head like working a little overtime to prove that like, see, I'm the good guy, everybody else is the bad guy, I didn't do anything wrong here. So I feel like that is also like running through his mind as well.
Thank you for that correction, Linda. I meant Romeo, not Omar.
Yes. So yeah,
I also think just generally speaking, and this is easier said than done. I mean, none of us have ever been on Survivor. None of us, to my knowledge, none of the three of us have had to only eat rice like that for how many days and live in the elements and all that kind of stuff while competing in challenges and all these other things. So there's definitely a mindset that we can say here as audience members, also understanding all the other context of like the gameplay that they don't necessarily have in that moment. We have to remember paranoia is high. When you have calorie deficiency to the point that they do, you can't think straight, you can't control your emotions and those kind of things, right? And it's a survivalist thing, literally, to think of yourself.
Yep.
To think of, okay, like I need to lash out in this moment, or I need to just say this because like I can't keep physically this in or whatever, right? So understanding that, that's an important thing. On the other hand, though, it is also very, very important, I feel like, if you're going to go play any kind of show, is to understand what are you like under your worst kind of stress and pressure, and understand your weaknesses and your strengths and try to mitigate that. And how will I manage this kind of thing when I'm hungry? So like Andrew, like you said, I know hanger's a thing. I've been a hangry bitch for most of my life. And I know exactly what I do in those moments, especially with my loved ones. And sometimes I don't want to change it because I'm like, whatever, they're just going to have to take it. I have to take it when they do it. So whatever.
Feed me a cheeseburger. Take it,
right.
Or feed me a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Listen, give me chocolate. That's all I want. I want some chocolate right now. I'll be satiated. Then we can have a real meal. I'll be good to go. Right. But I understand those things about me. What I've learned from watching a lot of these shows is that I truly believe that the biggest flaw that most people have is that they don't have a self-awareness of what they truly are like with the impact of their words or their actions or facial expressions, whatever, in moments of stress, not necessarily just a normal moment. Right. And so when you get to this part of the game, I don't care if you're old Survivor and you're going, well, they're not anywhere near 39 days. I don't give a shit. They're still under stress. Right. If they can't have a sense of how they're coming off, that's a huge losing point at the end of the day for jury management, for being able to do anything with the social strategy, you name it.
Yep. I think even more than being an amazing player, I think the winning skill to have in Survivor is just being a likable person, somebody that people feel good about voting for at the end of the game. Yes, exactly.
Unless you're the Iceman from Thailand.
And you know something. We said we were going to talk about this shortly, and we've talked about it for like 10 minutes. And I do want to kind of transition from that to talk about something that Beth talked about in the aftermath of this. And what I want to talk about I'm going to combine 41 and 42 and say that the best power / twist / everything to come out of these that I hope is repeated and maybe altered, but repeated, are these amulets. And we saw that so much today in the aspect of, yes, Beth just talks about, we see Drea and Lindsay have this conversation of we need to get Jonathan. And then we see Drea say, but I'm okay if Lindsay goes now that she's in this situation because that. And then they approach Lindsay about the vote with Drea. And the way the amulet has changed the mindset of the vote within a live round, I would love to see the amulets themselves continue in Survivor.
It's also interesting, too, because I've seen the amulet being the reason why Drea goes for a long time. And not because of the amulet, but because she's had so many other things. If she only had the amulet, I don't think people would have targeted her. I don't think Lindsay would have gone against her. But the fact she had an extra vote, the fact that she then also told people she had this knowledge is power advantage, if she had kept that part to herself, it would have been absolutely fine. And she had the idol that she'd played a couple weeks ago. So it comes down to, I think there is something to be said about having too much power in this game and having that come to bite you in the ass. I think Lindsay was the kind of player that would have been like, hey, I want to battle it out with you because we're on an equal playing field. But they weren't on an equal playing field. And that inherently makes you have a bigger target on your back.
And I'm not a fan of all the powers.
Sure,
I agree with what you're saying 100%. And this is something you've said for weeks, that this would be the downfall of Drea. And I think that some of these powers and some of these twists need to be cut back. I want the amulet itself to stay because the level of strategy it brings is a power. Get rid of this prisoner's dilemma bullcrap, right? Like all these extra votes with that. Yeah. I don't need those. The knowledge is power. It's not working. People can't keep their mouth shut. It's a cool twist and it's a cool concept, but it's just not working.
Here's how it works. Ready? If you tell anybody about this, you lose your vote tribal. Production knows.
I think it works if the idols being activated aren't in such a public way, right? Like we have to remember that like the reason that everybody knows about all these damn advantages is because Marianne has to say for 5 weeks in a row, goat cheese on AstroTurf, like whatever the fuck it was, right?
It's the tail of the rabbit who
yes, exactly. Yeah. But like I feel like maybe that's the issue. And that's kind of more where I lean because it's also taking away the hidden part of the hidden immunity idol. We've seen for 2 seasons now that like it's a cool idea to try that, like how does the power of that idol change when everybody knows like where they lie? But I feel like it just creates like stagnant gameplay that's only checkmated by another twist. So like they're creating a solution for their own problem that they've created here.
But I also appreciate too that Mike would have just held on to that idol and kind of did, but he moved it to somebody else who doesn't have to give it back to him. Let's be honest. He made Mike make a decision. Do I flush my idol tonight? Do I not bring it at all to tribal and potentially get voted out? Do I trust other people with this? And what would have been interesting is if he hadn't done that, he would have given up his idol. He would have gone. Or he gives his idol to somebody who's going, hey, this might be going on. And he has to trust in that moment. Oh, I guess I have to give you this because I don't know if this is going to be played out or not. That inherently is very different than I just sat on an idol until Final 5 and played it. So I do like that this knowledge is power is activated when people are aware of some of the other idols being more public knowledge. What I don't like is I don't think if you have that, I think part of the like punishment should honestly be like you cannot tell anybody about this power. If you do, you lose your vote and this power loses power and you don't have this advantage anymore.
What if it was one of those closed powers that you don't open and on the outside it said, read this at a tribal when you feel you have no other option. And then you don't find out that it's knowledge and power until you open it. And
I think that would be really cool. Because then somebody's going to be thinking, like, is this an idol? Is this like an even better option of like shot in the dark? Is this an extra vote? Is this a steal a vote? Is this knowledge is power? Like, there's so many options it could be. All you know is that it is something that you have.
and then it keeps that. If that's such a good twist that needs to remain secret, you keep it secret from everybody. That's the only way in a reality TV show you can keep something a secret. Don't tell nobody.
Definitely. I've thought this for years. When I've come up with things for like Big Brother or Survivor, I wish they would have a clause that was like, you tell anybody. Like, I thought about this for Big Brother, how great it would be if they gave you like the black diamond veto or something like that, which is like a secret veto that if you're on the block and you get voted out, but it's a unanimous vote against you, you can then pull out the black diamond and be like, no, but if there's even one vote on the other person, but you can't tell anybody that you have this. So you have to spend the entire time making sure you have a unanimous vote to go home before you go home, right? That kind of shit I think would be so cool because it forces you to play in a way that doesn't expressly say, hey, I've got something, but makes you play in a way that, like, you know, you shock the hell out of people.
And I'm watching
Wait,
BB-Can 9 right now.
What's the incentive to just not pull Keisha Knight Pulliam and say I need to go home and breastfeed my child? So everybody,
I would.
please vote.
You better believe I'd be like, I'm over this. Please vote me out. I don't want a sympathy vote. Please do not vote me. I would be dead on the water. I'd be picking fights with people all week. I'd be throwing dishes on the ground, and the entire time I'd be like gathering information and being like, I'd be, just being the biggest ass bitch in the house I could be. And then be like, boom, motherfuckers. This bitch is going home with 0 votes because I have this black diamond or whatever. But that's like my whole point, right? It's like that would change the way in which, like, because you cannot tell anybody about this or else it's avoid. I think that kind of stuff needs to be explored, especially in Survivor when there's so many different things that they're throwing out there. Something like this, I think, could make it a little bit more interesting.
I'm watching BB-Can 9 right now, and that is what I thought they should have done. I had that thought with the invisible HOH.
That's what I thought it was going to be too.
A penalty that if she tells someone, she goes on the block.
That's exactly
they really should have done that, Andrew, because like BB Can has done that before with Twist. That they've said, like, if you tell anybody about this, you are instantly evicted. So there has been precedent for that in BB Can. So I don't know why they didn't do that either. But totally agree. But gosh, we should like do like a off-season show where we're like workshopping these twists. Yeah, exactly. That would be pretty fun. Okay, but like. The big question is, like, did Drea play this really badly, or did Omar have another amazing, excellent behind-the-scenes week? And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. Is like this is like less of like a red X for Drea and more of a green check mark for Omar. Because
I'm gonna give him a yellow check mark.
So I'll say why. Like, so after he's the one that orchestrated like High going home last week, and Mike. Like he totally 100% thinks that this is his move, and it's given Mike this like huge boost of confidence to like play a little more boldly, play a little bit more sloppily in front, if you will, to the point where he was being targeted with this idol tonight by Drea. But like we started the episode by Mike saying, "Yeah, High going home was all me. It was all me, you guys. I'm the mastermind here," and it was really Omar, and that's where I feel like this happened tonight as well. Omar was the one that once again, like he is just like so stealthy with just like sitting back and like waiting for the information to come to him, right? Drea tells him about the knowledge is power twist, and he waits until like 30 minutes before Tribal to like spring this on Mike. So he has no time to like talk to anybody else, really think about it, say, hey, give me your idol so I can hold on to it tonight. And that totally saves him. But like Mike thinks that this was his idea yet again. Like Mike thinks that he is the one leading the charge, and that is so dangerous for Mike in terms of like winner's equity at the end if he's sitting next to Omar, because Omar can say, oh, that move that Mike is claiming he did, let me tell you the real story of what happened and how I brought Mike into this idea for him to think it was all him. So I'm so proud of Omar's gameplay once again tonight.
I totally agree with you. I will give him a green check mark after next week's episode, because I really do feel like this could have been a nail in the coffin for Omar. It doesn't take a genius to look and go, oh, okay, now that Drea's even more publicly saying the thing that we all knew, but now is putting the blame solely on Omar, that takes the blame off of Mike. And Mike's now got to go, well, now the jury thinks this was an Omar move, not a me move. I wonder if they feel like that with High. It's not going to take that much of a decision. Marianne is probably going to sit back and go, well, I was trusting Omar, but now I don't feel like I can. Romeo, who doesn't have anybody, will go with whoever wants the votes, right? So all it takes is for that 3 to get together and vote out Omar. Now, this is also provided Omar gives back the idol. It would be such a king move if he never gives Mike back his idol. If he goes, no,
but I I think that Omar will give the idol back
I think he
because
will
for
too.
Mike, for Mike, right? Like I don't see Mike like coming together to like make this resistance against Omar because Mike is a very like I don't want to say simple in a bad way, but like simple in terms of like once you show me loyalty, like I will ride or die for you. And I feel like Mike or Omar doing this for Mike tonight really is going to speak volumes to like who Mike's loyalty
I think
is
it
to moving forward.
does. It does, but I think Mike's smart enough to also realize Omar didn't do this for Mike. He did this to get Drea out and to embarrass her and that kind of thing, right? This was clearly not showing loyalty to Mike. It was, but it wasn't. That wasn't the
That's true.
point of it.
And we didn't get to see like like really any of the scene where Omar tells him about it, which but I'm so thankful for that because I love that the editors like hid that from us like until the question from Drea was asked and we got a little flashback.
Whereas
Survivor
last
editors,
year,
please do that more.
whereas last season, we knew that Liana was going to get bamboozled. We
Yeah.
knew it was going to happen because they had this whole plan set up for it. So I like the differentiating of it. But that's what I'm saying is like, I'm a hesitant green check mark for I don't think Drea did anything wrong. Drea did what she had to do in order to play because she was clearly going to go home. So why not go out swinging? The only thing that she did do that was really fucked up was she told Omar about the advantage. What she should have just done is said, I'm voting Mike. Here's why. He's not going to expect it. If we don't tell Mike it, blah, 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 and just try to get those votes. Then you steal that idol. Guess who all of a sudden has the votes cemented because they, even if they weren't going to vote for Mike, they damn sure are now. You have an idol and he doesn't. Who are you going to vote in that moment?
Yeah.
So,
Andrew, what do you think?
I am going to give Omar a big, fat, red X.
Okay.
For many reasons.
3 different opinions here. Okay.
Yeah, for many reasons. One, I think Omar's thinking for the round and not for the future. I think the vote was to get rid of Mike there. Now you have Drea flushing all the powers. You have the guaranteed idol. And my problem with Omar is he is spread very, very thin, which has worked up to now, but we don't see the end game. And I don't think any other player really sees the end game either. This was his opportunity to go to Lindsay, say, this is what we do. We vote out Mike. We weaken Drea. Drea is now powerless, and her name has been mentioned the last 4 rounds. So she's a huge meat shield. And then that's when does Omar know about the amulet that Lindsay has?
No.
I don't think so. No.
So that's when you tell her that the 2 of us now have an idol. He doesn't know that that's a 2 idol, and you set up an Omar Lindsay end game. He, just like Beth said, next week Omar's in some shit.
I think Omar's
and
in
the
huge
fact that
trouble
he
next
thought
week.
about the round and not about what I can do, and that's my problem with Omar's game, is it's very much in the moment and not long term. It's how can I create the relationships to help me now, not how I can help you to the future. I truly think the vote was do what you did, put the idol in your pocket, vote out Mike, Drea plays everything. That was the move.
I totally agree with you.
With that scenario playing out, Andrew, I actually see a pretty clear path for Omar to the end. Actually, like I see Drea still in the game, so she is like a big target, especially with this like Jonathan Drea tension. That's gonna keep like the Orange Tribe distracted on her while Omar kind of like slides through until Drea's voted out, and then they go after Jonathan next, which leads like Omar,
Lindsay,
Marianne, Lindsay, and Romeo. Cut Lindsay or Marianne at 4 and be in the finals with Romeo and whoever else, which I feel like Romeo is like the GOAT of the season now.
Well, he's I said this tonight. I think he's a 0 vote finalist. If there's a final 3, he's 0 vote finalist for sure. It would be ridiculous to vote him out. The only time you vote to get, or you try to get the votes to get Romeo out, is if you were the one who's in deep shit without immunity going into and just try to unify people, cause the drama, be like, what's he doing? Don't you want to go to the end with people who like actually are playing, who are contributing at camp, outside? Because the people who are still left in the game, Jonathan and Lindsay, their biggest issue came out tonight. They're competitive. They want to be against the best. Do you want to sit next to Romeo at the end, or do you really want to fight this out? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So my concept, I guess, in the moment, yellow check, but for a long-term gameplay, there was a better option. And because he can't see into the future past the present, I have to give him the red. weeks.
I agree. But that's what I'm saying. It's a yellow check mark for me now. If next week he's safe and in a really good possession, I will give him a billion green check marks for this week. Like, really great. I think he's in real deep shit. I think they're going to try to show like, oh, it's another, who's going to go? Is it going to be Lindsay or is it going to be Jonathan? I think they're going to throw out Omar's name a little bit and like they did in the trailer. But I really think next week is when all of his like sneaky stuff like comes up to bite him in the ass.
And you know what I have to say about edit too? For someone that had no edit, the Lindsay Winter edit, the past 2 episodes is real.
Yeah,
Like,
I totally
out of
agree.
nowhere, and her winter edit right now is insane strong.
Yeah. She's her edit is like definitely giving Marianne's like a run for her money right now.
Marianne's has kind of faltered a little bit.
Yeah, but like she is just so like in the background, and honestly, I think that's where she needs to be, considering that she has another idol. Like it's really good for her to just like chill out, you know, like let all these people bicker it out. And I say bicker as in like they're like kids, but like I actually have written in my notes like I'm very impressed with how like mature. I feel like I'm watching like adults playing Survivor. Like it feels like Survivor Philippines in terms of like like, and I say older, not like geriatric, but like I just there's just like a certain like maturity and like camaraderie. Like I love how like everybody was still rooting for Lindsay to succeed tonight.
Right.
Even though like it would have benefited everybody if they're not the one going home tonight. I loved the camaraderie around Drea. Like once she was voted out, like her giving Mike a hug. Like as long as it's not like game related stuff is what I'm saying.
Well, actually, we spent a lot of time talking about the game portion stuff, but I really do want to just talk about. You could tell, even though she was obviously disappointed that she lost, we got to see like the real Drea come out. Like she's been so focused in the game and like kind of a silent killer and all this stuff. And we just saw this, you could feel the relief of, you know what, at least it's over and I can like and enjoy this as an experience. I'm going to be able to eat. Like, yeah, she's not saying that, but you can see the disappointment and relief kind of flow over her.
Yeah.
And she has words for each person, whether or not they're game related, whatever. I just loved seeing such a genuine reaction out of her and everybody else. That is really nice to see, especially when everything is so divisive right now in the world. Like it is nice to see like even people who are competing for $1 million who aren't eating, who are blah, 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 whatever, can still take a moment to like appreciate each other.
It feels more genuine than like Hi last week being like, oh, like I love a good blinds. Like, can I just say, you guys, I'm so over when people are blindsided being like, oh, I'm such a huge fan of Survivor. I can't believe I got blindsided. What a dream. Like that. I hate that so much. Like just be authentic on your way out. But like for Drea, it felt authentic, Beth. Like, and that's what I love. And I feel like not Beth, Jeff. I feel like Jeff really has his eyes on Drea as like number one person for a returnee.
We'll
like,
see her
with
again.
A bullet. Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that Jeff kind of sees 41 as like a guinea pig cast, and 42 is like the real start of Modern Survivor. And I think that Jeff really allowed Drea to have her flowers on her way out. Because I think that he really respected her. I think that he saw that Drea herself was very proud of the game that she played. And the respect that she had from like everybody around her was just incredible and very well deserved.
So 2 things I'm going to say on this, and I want to ask a question, but now that you've got me on a tangent in my head, I'd love to see a Drea and I'd love to see Shan back in the same season. And I'd love to show, and then I'm like, wait, I'd love to throw Sari in there. And then I'm like, wait, a women POC season would be amazing.
Put Michaela in there too.
Michaela, Shan,
Cindy.
like,
not Cindy. What's her name? That we were just talking about her. Sydney, thank you.
Sydney, yeah.
I want Sydney back.
But I was thinking Shannon then. And I was like, oh, throw Cherie. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, a women POC season would be amazing. But the question I have is, so Drea goes for her knowledge with power advantage. It fails. We go to the vote. Should Drea have taken the shot in the dark? She just found out that Omar completely told everybody. So Omar is probably against her. She has 2 votes. Should shot in the dark have come up for Drea in this situation?
So my question here is actually because I can't remember or I don't know. Can you play the shot in the dark and an extra vote? Or
It's never been done, so I
No.
don't know the answer to that either.
No, it has been like, remember last season I tweeted out, I said, is the shot in the dark application like removing that single parchment of vote or removing the action of a specific player from voting? And I believe I asked this on Reddit too. I believe everybody said it nullifies the action of that person voting.
so I thought that was the case for the idol, like the split idol, that you can't vote. But I didn't
Yeah.
know it applied to the shot in the dark. So that
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes it
Yeah.
consistent. Okay.
Confirmed by our wonderful
Thanks, Heading.
chat moderator.
Yeah,
Heading.
I think that makes a lot of sense because I would have been like, girl, the way I would have been like, I'm taking my shot in the dark and I'll throw a little fucking one on Mike too. Fuck you, Mike. I would have done that shit. The way I would have gone up there and be like, I'm playing my shot in the dark, and they'd be like, you can't do that. I'm like, bitch, do you see me? I'm writing on the paper. I very well can. Do you see this? I'm writing. It is fine. Whether you choose to count or not, that is your own deal. I don't know.
Yeah. One other thing I think like could have possibly been a way out for Drea is if like let's say after that tribal where her and Marianne both played their idols and it was such like a great bonding moment between the two of them. I feel like Drea could have worked more on like getting in closer with Marianne as an alliance member to the point where Marianne shares with her that she has her idol, and then maybe she asks Marianne if she has her idol instead of Mike tonight. Like then everything would have gone.
She could have told Omar all that stuff about Mike only to ask Marianne. Oh man, that would have been so good. That would have been so good.
But then in the regard,
and Mike is still voted out.
But does that go? Does what happened when they both played their idols together weigh into the decision of can I do that to Marianne?
I think all's fair in love and war and Survivor. You know, that's how I feel.
Is it worth burning the bridge with Marianne for a potential jury vote at the end?
And possibly two other jurors, possibly Roxroy and Chanel.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. And I guess who's to say like what's stopping Mike or sorry, Omar from playing Mike's idol right then and there too, for Mike or for himself or something. You know what I mean? So like I guess like it could happen, but you know, I just like to play these what ifs.
My question is because it says do you have a power or an idol or an advantage? Could she have stolen the amulet from Lindsay?
No, because it's not about having the amulets, it's about how many are still left in the game. So
that is such a good technical question.
I thought about this too. Andrew, and I had like a reaction like, and then I was like, no, I actually have like literally thought about this before.
Yeah.
It's not about how many are in the game. Like, it's not like, oh, here's my amulet, so you have two now. It's like once that person is out of the game, one amulet leaves, and that becomes stronger. So it actually does you no service to have that other amulet because then there's still two in the game. All it would do is if you got voted out, the amulet leaves the game. Period.
But it would guarantee the steal a vote because don't they, if they come together, there's only one steal a vote? They both don't get one.
I mean, what if Drea says, Lindsay, can I steal your amulet? And then she just throws it in the fire. So now it is transformed.
That would have been fucking, honestly, I would have done that. That's amazing. Tyler, the way I would have been like, now what, producers? I got a fucking idol.
Put it in whoever's leaving pocket. Like, sneak it in the pocket of the person walking next to you.
No.
And honestly, like, I would say to Lindsay, like, honestly, you were on borrowed time anyway. Like, you probably should have gone home in this twist to begin with for risking it all against Jonathan. So
we're getting close to the hour. I think we have to talk about do or die a little more, right? We've now done this twice, and it's worked both times with the fire.
And
is
I have
the
to
twist
say,
dumb? Is it rigor mortis? Or what is going on with this 33% chance now passing two times?
I love that the math people tell you that you should always switch, and both times their asses would have been fucking voted out of this game. bitch. They're like, oh, well, if you run 1,000 of the tests, it's like 0.1% more that you're better. I'm just doing that. I have, that's actually not how I feel, but I only am saying it like that just because I remember Tyler being like, no, it is mathematically like better
It
for you to
is.
switch.
It
But
is.
out
It
of
is
how
better.
many trials it mathematically? It's not mathematically better every single time. It's mathematically better over the course of how many times it's done. So therefore, the majority of time you would think, okay, yeah, it's better to switch. I always say stick with your gut.
It's
If your gut tells you to
mathematically
switch, go for
better
it.
if you have the wrong box. Then it's mathematically better 100% of the time.
Correct.
Switch, right? But I love the fact that that was high, right? That was like switch. No, you got to switch. No, switch. Like because
Always
it's
switch.
showing
Always
that
switch.
he's the same person that he is on the jury that he was in the game, right? But I want to talk about the twist as a whole. I mean, it has. I mean, I say it hasn't worked, but it has because it made that person safe. But it sets up for this. It's a dooming thing, and now I feel like next time it happens, every single person's gonna let's play. I want it. Like I'm dropping. I jump on the block, right? Like
I don't like it. I think it's stupid. Like we've seen it twice. Like I think it's really going to piss people off more if like imagine if Drea went out tonight by this twist instead of all of her all of her power and like people fearing her as a player. Like it's like we're passing it by because like it has been inconsequential, but once it's like very consequential to like one of America's favorite players, or like imagine if like a Kim Spradlin of the season went out on something fucking stupid like this. Like that's when people are going to be against it, and that's why I think it's just a shitty twist that should not be done.
Oh, I think it's shitty. It's so stupid. It has nothing to do with skill.
Stupid.
It's everything
Yeah.
to do with luck. It makes absolute and like even with the like, oh no, Beth, like if you think about it mathematically, it's not a luck thing. No, it fucking is a luck thing. You don't know if you chose the right thing or not at first. Like it's not like you were given a list of if they made it a logic puzzle. If they said like box 1 has blah 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 blah, but box 2 did this, and then like if it was like one of those like Punnett square kind of like logic puzzles, something, I'd be totally game. Yeah, give them a fucking logic puzzle, give them a 5-minute timer, make your best educated guess, let's go.
Yep,
I'm fine with
totally
something
agree.
like that, but make it complicated. Don't make it like, oh yeah, it's this one.
like the one they had in the beginning with the numbers, right? Like with the triangles. Here's my thought on this. In a game that had so many freaking idols and so many freaking powers, what if you did it to where you can do it, and if you are the first to fall, you can play a power to pass the do or die on to the next one. You sacrifice an idol, and this is a way to flush some of these powers and then strategically be like, oh man, Jonathan could be the second person to fall, so I'm going to drop an idol to make him do the do or die.
I feel like we're running down the slope that like is just so steep that we can't stop running, and we're eventually going to fall and turn into like the wheel of cheese going down this big mountain, right? Like if we're like solving all of these problems, like okay, but what if there's another part to it that you can cancel with another twist that has this check and power by another
Tyler,
twist?
You're trying to get hired by CBS. We know the love language.
For that job.
It's just like Oprah being like, you get a car and you get a car. It's just too much.
If I could get a job where I just have to come up with shit for Survivor and get paid well for it, and then just get to see it play out live in person, I will take that. Thank you. I will take that job.
The key word is paid well for it, because one of the only people that gets paid well on the cast and crew of Survivor is Jeff freaking Probst, right?
All right, listen.
I would love to be a part of the dream team, and I would do that for free for a season or two.
That's what I'm saying. When I say paid well, I mean you gave me a dollar and a flight to Fiji, baby. I am. I'm good.
Exactly.
Also, I for an hour, and I feel like we barely touched the surface on this episode. It was so good and so in depth, and so
it was a really great episode. Matt pointed out in the chat that we forgot to say hello in the beginning. So hello to Linda, Matt, Stefan, Emily, Adrian, Heather, Frank C, Thomas Cook, I think that's it. Linda. Yes. Hello, everybody. I hope you just liked my little tra-la-la. Let's also update our drafts here. Oh, thank you.
Sorry, just
no, you get
Frank's.
So I don't know why Hai is not blacked out on these versions of the draft, but just
sounds like
pretend that
someone's
he
trying to
is.
make themselves look a little better. Sorry.
That is true. Because the only person left I have is Marianne, but Beth, your team's looking a little black and white too over here. So
yeah, no, it's not living the good life, that's for sure. Allison
yeah.
has the best draft, definitely. Yeah.
Her draft for BB Can 10, like she had like all 3 people until like
That's
the final
incredible.
6 or something. So whatever Allison is deciding these things on, I need some of that in my life. So it looks like Rory, or no, where is she? Oh yeah, Liza. So Liza's team is totally out of the patron draft. So that's where we stand with the drafts.
I think Henning's team looks very good. I could see all 3 of them being the final 3.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I think
I don't know.
Romeo
Rory's
for
team
sure
looks
will
pretty
be
darn
there.
good too.
Rory's team does. Adrian just has Mike.
Honestly,
yeah.
I could see a case for anybody left this season winning the game in terms of like winners edit. Like,
Yeah,
of course, I think
definitely.
it's number 1 with a bullet for Marianne, but like the case is there for everybody, probably except for Romeo at this point. I just love how like there's still a lot of game left to be played, and I can see this going in so many different directions still. So yep. I think that's it. Is there anything else before we bounce on out of here?
No.
But yeah, I do want to point out in our women of POC, we forgot Marianne. She'd also be a
Oh my
great
God, yes. There's a whole bunch of people.
Yes, of course. Well, we just have to assume that she's going to
also
win.
because she didn't get to come back for Winners at War, bring back Vesepia. Like,
yes.
Come on.
Just invite Vesepia. Jesus.
What
they
the
didn't
fuck?
even invite her.
Or
they didn't
Earl.
invite her or Tina Weston, like, which is just like absurd to me as well.
Ridiculous.
But we have to have Ben on a winter season.
We have to have Sandra.
We have to have Ben coming on another CBS show coming up and potentially doing very well there.
What? Wait,
Love
what?
It. What? I don't want to. There's spoilers out there. I don't want to spoil.
I just want to know what the show is. We'll talk about it when it's
challenge.
It's the challenge, like it's like a CBS crossover.
CBS
so people
from
like
CBS challenge. Okay, the one on Paramount Plus. Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Ben is and Sarah are on that season. Yep. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it for us tonight. We will be back with Jackie, I believe, to recap episode 4 of the Real World Homecoming New Orleans, and we'll be back a week from today to talk about episode 12 of Survivor. Our hearts and thoughts and stuff go out to Allison, who had a loved one, a family member pass away, so she's just taking a little time off. So, Allison, we love you. We hope to see you on here soon, but don't worry, we're holding down the fort for you here.
And don't forget to become a patron if you would like to support our show. You can do so at patreon.com/myweeklymeltdown. This summer, we're really going to gear up to do some really cool Patreon content. So if you become a patron, you can join us with things like game nights, or we might do some Brant Steals or special patron shows. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's going to be fun stuff, and you want to be a part of it. So be sure to become a patron there. Follow, like, do all the fun things here and on Twitter. Follow us on your favorite podcasts.
And I'll also say, if you're not a Real World Homecoming fan, check out last week's episode just to check out Jackie B. She is a new person that we're trying to rotate in and probably going to help us a little with this summer with the Big Brother coverage. And her coverage and her insight and her energy is amazing. So even if you're not a Real World fan, watch that episode just to check her out, because you will be hopefully seeing a lot more of her this summer also.
Yes, exactly. We are very excited to have her, and I can't wait to keep breaking it down. And I can't wait to have like Big Brother chats with her as well, because you know how I love nerding out about Big Brother.
She also Beth be great for just real life chats with her patrons. Like she's just that kind of person.
The stuff that I'm not good at. All right. Well, everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys on Monday. See you later. Bye-bye.